Hey, thanks for dropping by to the Planners on Purpose podcast, created by Naomi Tucker, CMP. Now, this space is for the event planners to encourage and empower you so that you can fully live your life on purpose. So before we dig in, please take a moment to subscribe so you get future shows. Now, here she comes, your host, Naomi.
Welcome. This is Naomi Tucker. Excited for you to be with me today. I want to talk today about, can you ever achieve true balance? We always talk about work-life balance. Is work-life balance truly obtainable? Or perhaps in what I am hoping to present to you today, we can look at it a bit differently. And because of that shift in perspective, it might help us design our lives differently. So I am definitely excited to be here. This episode marks November 1st, and I'm really excited for November because it does bring about change. We start to shift into this gratitude season where we're taking opportunities to be grateful for our lives, be grateful for what's happened this year, and to really start to be prepared for getting into the new year. I cannot believe we're coming on the end of this year. We are moving into a totally different season eventually, and we want to be prepared as much as possible, and we want to make sure that we're making changes now that we can make in order for us to be able to be the best that we can be later. So I had an impression the other day on me to do a podcast every day. And it really challenges me to say this out loud, because usually when you say it out loud, you have to commit yourself to doing it. So there you go. I'm committing myself to doing a podcast episode every day of November, whether it be from me or whether you perhaps we may have a guest on the show. But if you do see an uptick in our episodes, it is because of that in particular. So I hope that it is exciting for you because you get to hear more of me, and I really love the challenge. So I do love challenging myself. I also love having a bit of balance in my life. However, this is going to make me focus intentionally on the podcast. So I'm really excited to do it. So it's going to be great. I feel like I have to keep talking myself into it. And you know what? Sometimes you can talk yourself until you're blue in the face. You sometimes just need to go ahead and do it. So that's what I'm doing. So you'll be seeing another podcast episode tomorrow and the next day until the end of November. And then we'll get back to our regular schedule. But I'm just so grateful for you to be here. If this is a podcast that you feel has been helpful, definitely in some way consider sharing this with your event professional friends, with your professional buddies, especially if you know that they can resonate with what I share here on the podcast. So let's talk about this idea of balance. It's so near and dear to my heart because it always is something that I try to strive to be able to reach. And I think a lot of people in my circles and a lot of individuals in the event industry and other pressing industries also struggle with achieving their idea of balance. Now, when we look at balance, I invite you to look at it differently. Somehow when you say balance, I see the balancing scales. And when you're on the balancing scales, it means that typically the same weight that's on one side of the scale is the same weight that's on the other side of the scale. We can take this visual and we kind of put it into a different type of visual where we have a pie chart. This pie chart has different areas of your life that perhaps it represents. So you probably have your professional life, you probably have your work at home, your spiritual life, your social life, financial, right? All of these areas, if you were to look at them in being truly balanced, they would all have equal slices of the pie. Well, when we look at that and we look at our lives, we say, It isn't really always the case that our lives and the different facet of our lives has an equal slice of the pie. So therefore, are you balanced? And I would beg to say, you probably are not. You're probably not balanced. And that's okay if this is you, right? Because pretty much the majority of us fall into this particular bucket where we have so many different areas in our lives that we want to have some sense of stability, but we don't. So that means we aren't as balanced as we would like to be. And in order to maintain a balanced state means that things would have to be totally equal, totally stagnant across all of the facets of your life all of the time. Now, granted, there is a time and space for maybe we would need to have true balance. We would need everything to be just at the same level just for us to get by. And I've been there. I've been to a point where it's like, you know what? Everything just needs to just hover at the surface. When you're in that particular position, however, you want to be mindful not to always stay there unless you really want to. But in order for you to make movements and scale in your particular career or in your life, you are going to have to make some shifts and make some movements and make some commitments and be a part of specific projects in order for you to move forward. And with that comes focus. You have to put focus on a particular segment of your life in order to move the needle. When you put that focus on that particular segment, then things aren't as balanced as you would want them to be. So the idea is having a good flow about your life and making sure that if you are working, that work isn't taking up too much of your focus, that you aren't able to focus on some of those other things. So ideally, we want to ask ourselves, okay, where is my focus right now in this season? Perhaps in this season, my focus should be my family. Perhaps in this season, my focus should be my work and a project and several events that I have coming up. Perhaps in this season, I truly need to disconnect and work on my spiritual being. Or perhaps in this season, I'm really struggling financially. I need to get a grip on my finances so that I can be more stable in the future. And it goes on and on and on. You can extrapolate this out to your friendships and your social life and things like that, and your health, right? Sometimes we're in a position where we have a lot of ailments going on and we need to tend to those, because if we don't, things can continue to get progressively worse. We want to make sure that we're maintaining our health. So therefore, we may need to have a little bit of focus in that area, and it's okay. So as we're going through all these different seasons in our lives, and if we ever find that we truly are either frustrated or feel like we just are putting in too many hours of the day focusing on work, or perhaps your family life is overwhelming you, or perhaps you have a bit of nothing going on in all those other areas to the point where you're just working all the time and you would like to see more. Well, that might indicate that your focus needs to shift slightly, and you need to create some sort of a plan of action for you to welcome in some of that traction in the other area in which you're seeking to progress in. So that's what I wanted to come to say to you today, is really talk about, can you really achieve balance? And maybe we need to look about it differently and just say, in this season, I need to put focus on this, or in this season, I need to balance my scales, right? So that it works for me, so that I'm truly leading a life that I love, and so that I'm truly obtaining my sense of what balance means to me. I hope this helped, and I can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow. And until next time, stay on purpose, my friends.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button and tell us how much you enjoyed the show by leaving a message in the comments. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.